Hey guys, welcome to another MST.TV video. This is going to be the June 2017 edition of the 10 most hated cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! And this time we're going to be month specific to the card that you hate in the month of June the most. Whether or not be from the previous ban list or the June 12 ban list, who cares? We hate them all and we would all love to see them go to the Shadow Realm. So we will begin thanks to you guys contributing to this list on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Subreddit, my Discord channel, and those of you guys on my Facebook as well. Thank you all very much, and let's get to this. And at number 10 we have Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. Getting your plays interrupted sucks. I'm trying to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And you're there being a jackhole to me. Well, that's the name of the game, because if your opponent is able to play, well, you're not able to play. And I guess this card currently is one of the more fair cards in the game. Well, first of all, it's not that offensive, it just prevents your opponent from completing their combos successfully. Of course, it is the most powerful hand traps of the current format, probably one of the best ones. So, I obviously deserve a lot of hate, whether you be playing your Barrage, your Diagram, you're summoning something that's easily summonable, or whatever. It activates, it goes to the graveyard, gets destroyed, and you have to deal with it. Unfortunately, that means Ghost Ogre, you are hated by many who can't start their combos. Number 9 is Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. It was annoying before, but it is just as annoying now. Perhaps more so, since you can be made with one card. In the one card version of this one, through the Wind Witches, the Wind Witch Sister, and the Snowbell, makes it indestructible by your opponent's card effects, so you cannot be destroyed by them, but you of course can still remove them via targeting effects. Doesn't prevent any sort of targeting effects whatsoever, but those cards aren't exactly in the meta, so it makes it very hard to deal with. So not only does it have a built-in Honest with 3,000 attack points for anything over level 5 that strikes it, it also, well, can negate all monster effects from wherever it is. And yeah, that actually makes it a very difficult thing to deal with, and you can't use your Raigeki or Darkhold, which previously dealt with it thanks to the Wind Witch protection effect. You're going to be using Kaijus to eat this thing up. You got to be using, well, not Torrential Tribute, but I guess you need some form of trap, maybe a compulsory evacuation device, maybe a Book of Moon to flip it face down. You need some way to out this card, and it is not exactly very effective in the current meta. Oh, did I mention that it basically shuts out the entire True Draco deck unless they have Stormforth? Yeah, that whole deck is destruction based, targeting based, yeah, and really relies on those monster effects, so yeah, that's not happening, and since you can't beat over it, you're really stuck with this wall, basically blocking you from getting anywhere near victory. The next card, number 8, is Card of Demise. Of course Card of Demise is on here. Everyone hates the card. No matter which deck it is in, it is the most hated card in that deck automatically. Just simply by giving you the sheer amount of advantage of drawing until you have 3 cards. This card is most dominantly seen in anti-meta decks or decks that don't rely on special summoning. I guess the current deck that we really hate seeing them in would be, I guess, True Dracos. True Dracos Demise. You guys kind of get the idea. Drawing 3 cards and, well, a deck that doesn't run a lot of monsters means you're going to draw a lot of your necessary spells and traps to gain that advantage over your opponent. And that means you get 3 additional cards to counter your opponent's whatever hand that they start with. It just seems unfair, but overall, you're losing your special summoning, you're losing your ability to do damage, but it doesn't matter on the first turn. And then, yeah, you can activate multiple cards of Demise per turn. So it seems kind of fair. You have to ditch your entire hand. Okay, well, all that being said, it is very frustrating when you see your opponent draw 3 cards and they just happen to draw into that strike, just happen to draw into that warning, just happen to draw into that mirror force that stops you from winning, and you just get really salty. And since they don't run very many monsters, they're more or less likely to draw into those cards that will counter you. And that's why anyone that plays Card of Demise, you see them activate it, you call them a sack. But I guess that's why it's one of the most hated cards. Number 7, we have True King of All Calamities, mainly hated for being in a dinosaur deck, because dinosaur decks can obviously 2-card combo this card out with a lot of suppression against them. It is very painful to deal with this card, especially when it sits right next to a Lagia, which can basically negate everything. And yeah, so the 2-card combo with a Diagram plus a baby dinosaur, that basically spams up the entire combo at very, very low resources. So, and basically what does this card do? It changes every single monster's attribute on the field to the one that you call it, and only your opponent gets shut out from activating their monster effects. So whether it's in their hand, banish, graveyard, Yeah, that attribute cannot activate, and every single monster on the field, basically on their side of the field, can't activate. And better yet, on top of that, to add a little salt to the wound, we can basically shut out their entire battle phase, because those monsters also cannot battle. So even if they can clear your threat, they have to do it without battling. So that really stuns out, and it happens turn 1 more often than you think, so it really sucks for anyone getting hit by this monster. Luckily, it's not higher on the list because a lot of people have learned to answer this monster, whether it be through a Dryden, through a Forbidden Chalice, or maybe even just a Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. And overall, the combo is very lengthy and it is preventable. That's why it doesn't get as much hate. But hey, this card is like a game of, well, he said, she said, except that she gets to say everything and you don't get to say anything because your stuff can't activate. You guys can't talk. And this card is very suppressive, it doesn't promote equality, and that's why people hate it. Okay, maybe that was an unnecessary joke. Number 6, we have Tornado Dragon, the TCG exclusive worm type monster that is definitely not a dragon. I guess putting MST as a quick effect on a monster isn't exactly something we were thinking about, but it is a thing. Tornado Dragon does possess a 2100 body, so it is strong as a Cyber Dragon, and it can also destroy back row. And it's a quick effect, so it destroys during either player's turn, so expect 2 of your back rows to basically die. Sucks to be a paleo player because, well, they're not going to hit anything until you start activating traps, therefore locking your chain out. Yeah, that kind of sucks. But aside from being like paleo players getting shut out, basically, if you have this card on the field with an anti-spell fragrance, you can expect your opponents to pretty much die very quickly, especially in a low resource situation where they're not going to ever be able to come back. They're not going to be able to draw Barrage or Raigeki or anything. That Tornado Dragon's going to be like, whoop, it's out of the place. Number 5, Solemn Strike. I actually didn't think that this card would be hated this much, but whether you're a casual player or a competitive player, this is a card that we all love to hate, but we also all love to use against each other just because it is so effective at stopping people dead in their tracks. Just because they overextend, or they haven't even overextended yet, it's just they're midway in their key piece of their combo and you're like, a chain, Solemn Strike, oh sorry, your whole board dies, or they're like, haha, I have my Cyber Dragon Infinity, I'm okay, I can negate your card, and then you're like, Solemn Strike, and then haha, your Cyber Dragon Infinity is dead. Like, this card has killed so many boss monsters, have punished so many plays. In fact, I think the only purpose of this card is to dish out punishment. It is the, ha, you have broken the rules of Yu-Gi-Oh! By not letting me win, I will strike you. I don't know, I have no real good jokes for this one. But overall, Solemn Strike, I guess, is one of the longest hated cards, love to hate. Whether you want to see this guy banned completely, I don't know. Maybe you'll go to 2, maybe you'll go to 1. And in fact, it doesn't really matter. In the current meta, it's just there. I don't know, you guys tell me what you think about this card. Number 4, Ash Blossom Joyous Spring. Of course this card's on the list. If you look at the previous entries on this list, they're all cards that prevented someone from doing something at some point, namely winning. This is not a card that Charlie Sheen would like, that's for sure. It's not going to help them buy win for sure. Because, well, this card stops synergy altogether. Deck synergy, whether it be milling, special summoning from deck, or, well, adding cards to hand. This card stops it all, even stops a Max C. Like, your opponent, you know, gets lucky to draw that 1 card Max C, and then they use it against you while you're trying to do a super big special summon combo. This feels almost a little bit worse than kind of getting like a top deck of Max C. This is like, ah, I got the Max C on you, haha, and then you're like, haha, back to you because Ash Blossom Joyous Spring, baby. And then they get super salty. It's like, oh, of course you have that card. But not only does it stop Max C, it stops a ton of things, and then always leaves a little bit of a nasty taste in their mouth. So they use Pod Desires. Now Pod Desires just essentially just banished 10 of their resources for no apparent reason and gave them all a 1-for-1, because you did trade 1 card for it, but they did lose about 10 resources out of that deck. So another funny thing to do is to hit a Hero Lives. Ash Blossom Joyous Spring essentially became a 1-for-1 that burned your opponent for 4,000 life points, which puts them in a very crappy range where you can OTK them basically from most of, or any of your combos at that point. Now, tons of funny things to hit with this card. Hitting a card to the mind just because they thought it was safe. That's funny stuff. But of course, it really sucks to be on the other end because you're the one probably salty raging about why you hate this card so much. Number 3, we have Dimensional Barrier. Why is this card on the list? I thought it was a very fair card, you know? It just, at a cost of a -1, my opponent can't access one specific type of summon, but they still have access to all the other ones. It seems very fair to me. I'm just kidding, guys. This card is an absolute, you know, savage card to use against your opponent, especially at the right timing. I know why we all hate this card. You're in the middle of doing your combo, thinking everything's gonna go smoothly, and bam, Dimensional Barrier gets hit on your face, and then you're like, damn, man, my board is so weak. He hit me at my weakest link, and if he gets rid of the 2 materials that I need to use right now, yeah, I can't Xyz, I can't Synchro, well, depending on what deck you're playing, of course, and yeah, this sucks. And if I play Rituals or Fusions, I lose a spell card just because. I lose a spell card just because. It's a 1-for-1 for him. He gets to trade a Dimensional Barrier for shutting off my turn, and I get to lose my spell card, or my Ritual spell card. Yeah, that seems very frustrating to all the players out there, and losing your material like that, and leaving them exposed on the field is like hashtag YouTuber exposed on the field. You don't want to deal with that, and then now it's going to get banished because they're playing Zodiac, and like, ha ha ha, Whip Tail is going to whip your ass, and then... yeah, the Dimensional Barrier. I don't think I need to say more about this card. It just puts you in an awkward spot, stuns a turn, and it's all done for free. And number 2, we have Masterpiece, the true Draco Slaying King. I guess, Towers-esque monster go a long way of receiving hate, and this one is no different, simply because it can be immune to a variety of things. It can be immune to the things that your deck is good at, simply by tributing off, well, one monster and a spell, or one monster and a trap, or, you know, a spell and a trap, just because your whole deck is just made up of a bunch of vanillas. Looking at you guys, Phantasm City guys. It's just one of the most brutal things for you guys to deal with because it has the immunity, it has the adaptive immunity, and not only does it have adaptive immunity, you can easily put this monster on board even though it requires 2 tributes because it can tribute off continuous spells and traps to gain those immunities. Yes, overall, not very fun card to deal with, and it even comes with a very, very useful effect, which is to banish one of your own spells and traps, continuous spells and traps from the graveyard to pop a card on the field. It's a quick effect, so it's very unlikely that it won't, you know, maximize this card, and of course it can be revived with the True King's Return. There's tons of things you can do with that card, and it has a really big body of 2950, 2950, which if you combine the stats, it's even higher than a Blue Eyes if you combine both stats, of course. And yeah, this card just makes it very hard for anyone to deal with or play Yu-Gi-Oh! It is a win condition on its own, although opening it up early does, you know, susceptible to a kaiju eating it up. But overall, this beast is here to stay, which makes it very, very difficult for anyone to kind of play around him once he is there. Yeah, it's not going to be easy. And the number 1 most hated card in June of 2017 is actually not just one card, but it's a whole family of cards, a whole family of monsters, a whole archetype, Zodiacs. And this archetype has been hated, I think, even more than Necros. Necros was a bit blue for the most part, but at least our other decks were able to play. Zodiac's kind of a bit of a long-term tier 0 situation that we kind of put ourselves in. And yeah, I think a lot of TCG is frustrated. Personally, I do like playing all sorts of decks, so I don't really care. I'll just move on to the next deck if Zodiacs do get killed. But let's hear it from like all these people. Bam! Like these guys, they all hate him. I don't blame him because, well, Dryden or Bravo, we couldn't really choose between the two. Bravo gave them the consistency. Dryden basically defined the format. What have we say here? Well, we can say, crack the rat, dent the Dryden, you know, slay the bull, spade the blade. I don't know, you guys can figure out things that you can say about how much you hate this deck, because this deck is insanely, insanely powerful, namely Dryden and Bravo. You take those two out of the equation, and they're still functional. Like, holy crap, how do you kill this thing? This thing is like immortal at this point, but you gotta kill enough of it to actually, you know, stop it from having it top, and, well, I think we're really sick of seeing this deck altogether. If we remove this deck out of the format, we will finally see some change. We'll see some brightness in the future. And at least that's what most people are saying. But I'm sure there's a way to incorporate the Zodiac in our little family of Yu-Gi-Oh! Archetypes. in some way or form. Just not like ice bears, because ice bears, they just suck, and they're hated because they're bad. These guys are hated because they're too good. Big difference here. But yes, that would be it. That would be the 10 most hated cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Thanks to the subreddit contributing, thanks to you guys contributing on Discord, thanks to you guys contributing on Facebook. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit me up with a thumbs up. I would really appreciate that. If you guys enjoyed our videos now, you can check out some of our previous videos where we had some fun sketches, fun videos from live duels. Check it out over there. But as always, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV and subscribe!